This does it. Okay, can y'all hear me now? Yes, you might be able to. Cause see now I hit the unmute button. So you should. Can you hear me now? If you can hear me talking, yes, you can. Okay. So as I was saying, all right. So here's the deal. There's a company called Teradek. They make encoders, different kind of encoders, and they make apps as well. So right now I'm using the Teradek Live Air Solo. Okay. So one of the reasons why when I thought y'all could hear me, because I could see the VU meters, which is showing me that what I'm saying can be heard, but that mute button was on, okay, which operates differently from their other app. So here's what happened earlier today. Okay, this is what happened earlier. So I did an interview with Kristen Clarke of the Lawyers Committee. Did her particular interview through another app, and I recorded a FaceTime conversation. So in Teradek's Live Air Action app, we hit preview. We heard me talking, we heard her talking, we're good. So me and Anthony, we're sitting here, everything's straight, we're good. So then all of a sudden, we're playing it, and then y'all say y'all can't hear, and we're going, okay, what's going on? So we go into our audio mixer, and when I start talking, nothing's moving. When she's talking, we see VU meters. It was like, what's going on? So we're trying to figure it out. We thought, I mean, literally, we re-imported the video. I played it on my computer. We played on the iPad. I mean, we're thinking everything is working. We're thinking everything is working, okay? And so it was crazy. So we're like, what's going on? Then Anthony goes, this thing may not be able to pick up the other channel. I'm like, and that could be the case. So we began to work on that. And so then I remember that iMovie does not separate channels. iMovie only puts one. So I pulled that file up in my audio editing system and saw that I was recording on the left channel, she was recording on the right channel, which is actually the way you want it to be. So I go, so Live Air, I'm on their tech support on live chat, and they're telling me, oh no, our system marries the two channels together. And we're like, no, they don't. We tested on two iPads, okay? So I then go to, so yes, y'all, I'm very much, this might be the geekiest person who's a non-geek as possible. So I then go to iMovie, I import the file into iMovie, then iMovie puts it on one audio file, I export it back to my computer, airdrop it over to my iPad, voila, problem's fixed. So, to Teradek, so what happens is these companies out here, these companies, they have engineers who build these things. What they don't do is they don't have people like me who test these programs out. Okay, so I'm talking about people who will put these programs through the paces and who will come up with scenarios that they can't think of because this is not what they do. This is kind of what I do. So that's how I know the iMovie, how that works, because we've actually run into that problem before. So finally we're good. So earlier today I interviewed Kristen Clarke, Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under Law. We talked about Donald Trump abandoning his voter fraud commission. We talked about his federal justices, their appointments, and she and I also talked about HUD and Dr. Ben Carson, them deciding to somehow blow off Obama-era segregation housing rule. So we finally had the conversation, and so you finally get to actually hear me and hear her together. And so here's my conversation with Kristen Clarke. All right, so Kristen, first off, let's talk about the big decision. Everybody's focused on Donald Trump and the book and everything like that, but him realizing the voter fraud commission was a fraud, I mean, that's a huge win for your Lawyers Committee and the other civil rights groups out there who've been fighting this fraudulent commission.
Absolutely. The big news of this week is President Trump signing an executive order disbanding the sham voting commission, the election integrity commission. And this really is a colossal failure for this administration when you think about it. We're on the heels of hitting 1 year with this administration, and this was their big push. This was their big claim that there were millions of people who voted fraudulently in the 2016 election, and we know that those claims are false. He launched this commission to attempt to substantiate those claims of vote fraud, but he faced a monsoon of litigation from organizations like mine, the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, and others who really backed the administration into a corner. And it was the crushing weight of our litigation that really backed them into a corner and resulted in this huge victory this week, the disbanding of the commission.
And it was pretty hilarious to hear him complain about it being rigged when Chris Kobach is the vice chair of the committee, and so he was requesting data from the states that even he wouldn't give up as Secretary of State of Kansas, and so Trump is complaining that other states wouldn't give the data up. His own vice chair wouldn't give the data.
It was pure madness. I mean, this commission was unprecedented. They issue requests to all 50 states asking that state election officials turn over data, private data on every American across the country, social security numbers, date of births, last four of your social, who you voted for. Why do they need to know that information about us? I'm really proud of the many states on both sides of the aisle that refused to participate or turn over data, but you're exactly right that Chris Kobach, who heads the commission, his own state refused to turn over the data. And we can't forget that this commission was very sloppy. You had commission members that were using private email addresses to carry out commission activity. They were seeking all of this data that would have been handled and transferred over servers that were not secure. I mean, this is an administration that really is waging an all-out assault on voting rights, and that assault is directed at African Americans, Latinos, poor people, students, and the end goal was to lay the groundwork to promote voter suppression across the country. And so the fact that we helped to put the death knell in that effort is a real victory that we should all be celebrating.
But as I keep telling people, there are going to be more attempts in 2018 to suppress the vote. Trump was already tweeting about needing stronger voter ID laws, things along those lines. And so 2018 is going to begin like we did in 2017, 2016, really since the 2010 midterm elections, where Republicans are going to be using voter suppression tactics. This is not, to me, a right, left thing, blue, red thing. It's just fact. Republicans have largely been responsible, and it is their playbook to have voter suppression.
That's right. We have to remain vigilant. The war continues, but we got to redefine how we define victory in this moment. And this is a big victory. We crushed them. We killed them. They had to dismantle this whole sham commission, and now they have to start from scratch. There are talks that they want to move the commission's work over to the Department of Homeland Security, which is ridiculous. Homeland Security exists to deal with the threat of terrorism in our country, and the idea that this agency would now be conducting or looking at data concerning vote fraud, which doesn't exist, is really troubling. So you're right, we have to remain vigilant. We've got the president using his Twitter platform to promote voter ID. If there are any states that heed his call and put discriminatory, burdensome voter ID laws on the books, we'll sue them. We'll sue this administration, we'll sue the states, we'll sue anyone who takes action to make it harder for people to vote.
Let's talk about the next story, and that is, of course, this is the 50th anniversary of 1968 Civil Rights Act. Many call it the Fair Housing Act. It was approved more than a week after Dr. King was assassinated on April 4th, 1968. And then you have Ben Carson, Trump's HUD secretary, making this decision that they're not going to require these cities to present their plans to analyze housing segregation in order to get federal grants. I mean, how do you make sense of this decision saying they're going to suspend it until 2020, requiring cities to submit those plans to counter housing segregation?
I'm glad that you provide that historical context. The Fair Housing Act is one of our country's most important federal civil rights laws, and it is so important because it was passed after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. It really lifts up the legacy of work that he was doing around our country to fight segregation and to promote residential integration and integration in all walks of life. So this is a law that's really important, and it is shameful to see Dr. Carson now leading HUD and at every turn taking action to gut the Fair Housing Act and turn our back on the important work that has been done throughout the years to promote fair housing opportunity. It all starts with housing. You know, when you think about the problems in schools, when you think about um, economic injustice, right? It is all about having healthy communities, and racially integrated communities is something that we need to aspire to. And the rules that have been put in place that jurisdictions around the country have to comply with are there for a reason. They're there to make sure that when jurisdictions receive substantial sums of money from the federal government, that they're using that money in the right way, and they're using that money to promote residential desegregation and working to fulfill the goals of the Fair Housing Act. So what happened this week at HUD is also shameful. Not a lot of people are paying attention to the suspension of this critical rule, but it really is a setback for families all across our country that want racially integrated and healthy communities.
And what gets me is when you hear this argument, oh, it's just so hard for us to be able, to assess segregation. Really, it's
It's
that
not that
hard.
it's not that hard. We do a lot of work at the Lawyers Committee. We've worked with the state of Louisiana. We've worked with the city of Los Angeles. They turn to us and seek our help and guidance and saying, what can we do to make sure we're doing the right thing here? If we're going to take the federal government's money, we want to make sure that we're not putting up barriers that will result in racially segregated communities. So it's not that burdensome. And when jurisdictions need help, they turn to organizations like ours to make sure they're doing the right thing.
Go to the third story and the final story. Laura's committee, NAACP, LDF, and others, they've been fighting these right wing choices of Trump for the federal bench. He has now resubmitted names that y'all have wanted rejected, including the guy in North Carolina who's been backing racial gerrymandering and who also critics say lied to Congress.
Yes. So today, President Trump issued a renomination of 21 people for the federal courts. And that list, first of all, includes primarily men, white men. There are about 4 women on the list. And it's really important that we all speak up and condemn what this president is doing in terms of whitening of the courts. He's really turning the clock back when it comes to judicial diversity. We're not seeing qualified individuals put forth. We saw the nomination of Mr. Peterson Tank right before the end of the new year. This is somebody who knew nothing about how federal courts operate, knew nothing about the rules of evidence. And so today's list of 21 primarily white male nominees includes people like Thomas Farr, who is someone who has built a record promoting and defending voter suppression in North Carolina. One of the main cases that he worked on was a case defending North Carolina's monster voter suppression law, a case that the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals said discriminated against minority voters with almost surgical precision. This is not somebody that we need on our courts. We need judges who will be fair and independent and people who are qualified for these lifetime appointments.
Well, again, it's no shock that he has resubmitted them because you have folks. I keep saying this that people don't understand that different factions of the Republican Party, Trump serves their interests, and so white conservative evangelicals they want federal judges who are going to outlaw same-sex marriage, who are going to outlaw abortion, who are going to rule on those issues. You have the business folks who want these judges to be very pro-business as well. And then, of course, you have, I mean, everybody has their own little thing. Those who are against housing issues, affirmative action, and so many others. And so that's really what's at play here with a lot of these choices that he's picked for the federal bench.
Well, everyone is going to have their political views, but the question is, can you set those political views aside and be fair
Yep.
and independent and ably carry out your job? And time again, we've seen with many of these Trump nominees that they're radical. They are so far outside the mainstream. I mean, we've seen nominees who espouse horrendous views, people who've defended the KKK, people who have argued that transgender kids are Satan's children. These are not people that we need on our federal courts today. And it all comes back to where we started, Roland. The commission, the Election Integrity Commission, was defeated because of the good work that was playing out inside of our courts. We need to make sure that the judges who are appointed to our courts today are people who will respect the rule of law, respect people's constitutional rights, and who will fairly interpret and apply civil rights laws. And so we're going to fight the Thomas Farr nomination, and we're going to fight this president if he continues to put forth names of people who are just not qualified for the job. These are lifetime jobs. Our federal courts are critically important to so many of the battles that are unfolding across our country. And so this is an issue that we have to fight for.
All right. Kristen Clarke, President, Executive Director of the National Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. Well, appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, folks. So that was, of course, a great conversation there with Kristen Clarke, President, Executive Director, Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. And so hope you enjoyed that conversation. And so it was great that Kristen was able to make herself available. And there's going to be more of these. And so just so y'all know, there are so many, I'm a tech person, and there's so many things that I'm just sort of toying with, playing with and stuff to still disseminate information and news, things along those lines. And so we're testing different times I stream, different technologies and all kind of stuff. And so we're going to be testing stuff on the road. I mean, you name it. That's just one of the things that we're working on right now. So I appreciate all of y'all checking me out on YouTube, on Facebook, on Periscope as well. Thank you so very much. You can also download this podcast, of course. You can download it on Google Play as well as iTunes, and you can check that whole thing out. And again, let somebody know what we're doing. And still haven't figured out what I'm going to be doing with TV One. So we're supposed to be talking about that, and we're going to look forward to that. But there's so many things that are going on out there, and so my deal is how do we, here's the, cable news right now is stuck on Fire and Fury, Michael Wolff's book. I get it. But the things that we just talked about with Kristen Clarke are not getting the attention they deserve. Just like what's happening in Baltimore is a travesty. That they can't. How in the hell you got school? You got kids trying to go to school and you can't figure out how to get some damn heat in the classrooms. I mean that is an abomination. That's a shame. That's utterly ridiculous. And so that's another story that should be getting a lot more attention than it isn't. And so we'll stay on top of those things and certainly keep you abreast as we are moving forward. So a lot of things happening, and we're just going to make it possible. Got some things coming up on Thursday. And first of all, again, be sure to set your DVRs This Sunday morning, I'm going to be on ABC This Week with George Stephanopoulos in New York City. And so I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to go live from the green room before. I'm going to give y'all a sneak peek and chat in the green room. And so, you know, I'm just doing different stuff. And Thursday, Alabama A&M. I'm going to see all of you, Alabama A&M, on Thursday. I will be on your campus for your MLK program. So looking forward to that. Friday, I go to LA. I'm going to miss Justin Fairfax's inauguration. I got to go to LA for some business. And then San Antonio, I want to see you guys on MLK Day. I'm not going to be at the Image Awards. I'm going to be at the pre-show. Hopefully, I win Best Host. Hopefully, News One Now wins Best Show. And then that Monday, I'm going to be in San Antonio for their MLK Day program. We'll be live streaming that as well, bringing it all to you as only we can do. And so just a really packed schedule, all kind of stuff going on. And so I can do what we have to do. And I was sitting here, I was going to close this thing out. I had posted this video. This was before, was this around Thanksgiving? I think it was Thanksgiving. Or, I don't know, was it Christmas? Before Christmas. It was before Christmas. So I saw this video and I said, you know what the hell? I'm gonna go ahead and post it. So this is me and my sisters dealing with my begging nieces as they were trying to beg me to buy them a new computer. It didn't work because Aunt Jackie said no. So y'all can't blame me. Y'all gotta blame her. So I just want to leave y'all with this for a little fun. Here we go. Why do little people ask you for things?
Tia.
And there's no reason why
I don't know
they need things.
Tia, can I get a computer for Christmas?
I don't understand. I don't understand.
Can I get a computer for Christmas?
They're asking me. So she says, I want a computer.
No.
I said, why do you want a computer? She goes, oh, because I want one. Like,
why can't I just have
so
a
I'm just going to
computer?
go, sure.
Yeah, that is so
Sure.
easy. It's so easy to just say yes. I will get my niece.
It's either yes or no,
No,
girl.
I'm not getting y'all damn thing.
Why?
I don't like y'all.
You love us, Uncle Roro.
No, I tolerate y'all.
Lord, please help this man.
Uncle Ronald, please, can I get a computer for Christmas?
Nope.
For my birthday? My birthday is in like 4 months.
Hey, y'all. These are my 4 rockhead nieces.
Really? I'm not a rocket.
I can't
I'm not a rocket.
stand these little people.
I wouldn't you.
Why do little people? So anyway, I figured it's Friday. Want to give y'all something to laugh at, a little fun. So there you go there. So having a little fun with my nieces. Okay, folks. Don't forget you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Roland S. Martin. You could also follow me on my Facebook page. Go to my digital website, allthat.tv as well. Look forward to hearing from you. I got to go. Hope you enjoy your Friday night. Don't forget, I'm going to see you Sunday on ABC This Week with George Stephanopoulos. I'll be live from New York City. Check your local listings to find out when it airs on your local ABC station. Okay? I got to go. Y'all be sure to have a fabulous, fabulous weekend. And hope you enjoyed this Roland Martin Unfiltered podcast. Tell a friend. Download this podcast by going to iTunes or Google Play. All right, y'all. Take care. Peace out.